are live from Delray Beach Golf Club. Why is it this is on? Delray Beach Golf Club. Little technical difficulties. Okay, now we got it straightened out. Woo. We had some Wi-Fi issues earlier, but we got that straight. Good morning, everyone. Salt and Pepper, Delray Beach Golf Club, another repeat mode, right? 82-degree sunny day. This show's brought to you by the Jacob Companies, again, the preeminent builder of sports arenas, venues, hospitals, schools. Don Perry's company builds everything. Golf courses, everything. Let's Go Golfer, style in your shirt. I got the hat on, letsgogolfer.com. And Hilden water to the royal family and the Queen of England, rest her soul, right? Hey, we're in the hotbed, Pepper, of college basketball, man, right?
It's unbelievable. Schools and colleges on every level are doing big things in tournaments this year.
Yeah, who would have thought, right? In our backyard here, 10 minutes, we got FAU going to the Final Four. We potentially could have out of the final 16 teams of the Elite Eight on the women's side, 8 on the men's side, and our neighbors here, we could have 3 teams.
Yep.
Right? Is that unbelievable? Who would have thought?
That's amazing. And, and saying that, we've got Nova, who's down the road a little bit from us. They're in the Division II finals today.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I forgot about them. Nova Southeastern is playing in the Division II finals. I think it's called the Sunshine State Conference, which is arguably the top D2 conference in the country. Our good friend Jeff Price coaches Lynn, Butch Estes coaches Barry University. It's kind of a D2 Division I transfer conference. A lot of D1 players in it. But yeah, Nova Southeastern, that's right, it's playing in the finals. So, hey man, the winds of change. South Florida, the tropics, basketball in paradise. We're right in the middle of it.
Well, basketball paradise, a little bit of golf. Everybody thinks Florida is a football state. Football is up and coming. These kids are very athletic. They want to learn the game. They want to get out of situations that they're in, socially. And, these kids are listening and they're learning, they're playing hard, and they're staying in school.
Yeah, and the influx of during COVID, the influx of athletes, both men's and women's that were banned from playing or whatever, they made their way down here because everything was open and they didn't go back. So the talent level, of course, you got at the high school level, you got IMG Academy, right, on the West Coast in Bradenton. You got Kevin Boyle and Montverde. All right, I don't know how many people he put into the pros from St. Patrick's in New Jersey, but I saw the other day he's been down here like 13 years already. So yeah, this Florida is.
Don't forget Columbus High School, just down the road from us in Fort Lauderdale. They've got Carlos Boozer's son, who is a sophomore, who just got the Gatorade Player of the Year award.
So we are we're going to have Ron Naclerio, and we hope he can hope he can get on using his phone. We sent him all the links, but he is we're really looking forward to him. We had him on last year, but he's real intimate with the St. John situation. He's connected. He's a legend. He's the all-time winningest high school coach in New York City. Think about that for a minute. We're going to get his perspective. And our good friends, let's start off with our good friend Steve DeMeo, who was on a few weeks ago, who should be coaching a Division I program. Unfortunately, they lost in the finals of the JUCO D1 NJCAA National Championship yesterday by 3 points. I caught the last minute of that game. They were up 2, and then they ended up losing by 3. And I did not know this, but he is a Cardozo alum.
Oh.
So, Ron was posting. Yeah, he's got a lot to say. He's already put some stuff on social media. But, for some of those D1 openings, I think FDU is one of them. Steve DeMeo is from Queens. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. It's a no-brainer from what that guy's done. Interesting coming in here. I don't know if you want to, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you were talking to Roosevelt Bowie about the Q situation. I don't know. I thought you were talking about Tony Red Bruin, but apparently the new coach, Adrian Dodge, who's called Red.
Yeah, it's Adrian Red Altry.
You're right. And Rosie was a little fired up, right?
Well, Rosie's he gets a little fired up. I always break him out about Coach Boeheim being his dad. He's the oldest child in the Boeheim family, but Rosie's very critical of Syracuse basketball as far as he'll be the first one to tell you, I know the center position. That's all I can comment on. That's all I can relate to. And he's very high on Jesse Edwards, not knowing if Jesse's coming back. And I didn't realize NIL. If somebody knows something different regarding the NIL, that athletes here on a student visa are not allowed to get the NIL benefits. So Jesse is one of the players that is on a student visa. He's not eligible for any NIL money. Where other players are getting it, but he was the mainstay in Syracuse's offense this year, and defense as well. And it's a situation where it's not fair on him to be out there, plain English, busting his ass every day, and guys that aren't doing what he's doing on a consistent basis are being rewarded, and he's not. And Rosie's not sure. Syracuse is going to go to, word has it, Red's going to go to an up-tempo game. He wants to get that New York City swag up at Syracuse to, man-to-man defense, full court pressure. And he's got to make some changes, get the athletes there. I'm a firm believer. Coach Boeheim has played man-to-man defense from time to time. And I was talking to, Salt this morning. We all grew up playing man-to-man defense. It doesn't matter if you're 4 years old to 18 years old before you went to college. You played man-to-man defense in the parks and all your travel ball teams and stuff like that. So for kids to go to college and not understand the principles of a man-to-man defense is unbelievable. And that was one of the things that Roosevelt and I were talking about this morning. That Syracuse tried to play man a few times, and Jesse always got in foul trouble because he's helping out everybody else. Well, you can't blame him, but I say he's got to be a little smarter. He's not as physical. He can't block everybody's shot. Try to draw more charges. But I understand where Roosevelt's coming from, that the big guy has been put under a lot of pressure. We had it made with Roosevelt, myself, Marty Burns, Louis Orr. We were decent defensive players, so Rosie didn't get under all that pressure. But when he did, Rosa was able to get in there and block shots. He was able to draw charges, and that helped us out a lot. So with Jesse not playing man-to-man defense for, you might as well say, 4 years of college, to try to implement that, it's a tough change for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I don't want to say expectations, but a lot of inquisitive minds want to know what Syracuse is going to look like moving forward after all the years under Coach Boeheim. But yeah, it was just an interesting takeaway this morning, outside of the lizard that wrote in with me, and then hearing you and Rosie talking. But hey, before we get, Coach Naclerio is supposed to come on around 11:15, and like I said, I hope he's following instructions how to do it from your phone. But let's talk about the three local teams, man. I'm going to start out because this burned me. I want to get this in. The University of Miami women's basketball team, the Cavender twins. If you follow women's basketball, which I don't, but I do because of these twins, they're getting a lot of hate, and the hate comes from jealousy. But these two twins, as you know, they're social media darlings. They went to Fresno State for 3 years. They transferred to Miami because they wanted an opportunity to play at a high level. They can ball, man. And the stuff coming on, people don't know basketball. It just comes from pure jealousy. But I just want to give a shout out to them. They're playing this afternoon with a chance to go to the Final Four. Their basketball accomplishments are pretty amazing. They both came from Fresno State after 3 years. Haley is the starter. Well, they both started there for 3 years, but Haley has over 2,000 points. 3 years at Fresno State and this year at Miami. She logs about 34 minutes a game. She was the Mountain West Player of the Year. She doesn't make a mistake, right? She's five. They're both 5'6". They're good-looking girls. I love the way they approach the game. They don't let distractions or whatever. And her sister Hannah, they're talking about she rides the bench. She averages 18 minutes a game. She's accepted her role to win, and she's got over 1,500 points. So these people that come on social media and talk about they're just TikTok people, although they have 4 million followers and so forth, and that's not on them. That's on the NIL and what the NCAA allows them to do. Enough with it. All right, you don't know basketball. Don't talk to us about it. These girls are balling. All right, and one of them is committed to come back, I think, for a fifth year. The other one is unsure. But the Cavender twins are the real deal. Whatever happens today, they got a big feat. LSU is one of your teams you filed with South Carolina. I don't know if anybody's going to be South Carolina. I mean, they're like maybe the best we've ever seen.
Well, I try to spread the love a little bit. I watch the men's basketball and I watch the women's basketball. And the women's basketball this year is, I can't say it's one-sided. It's exciting because you never know. South Carolina, puts the hammer down late. They make it a close game for, 2.5 quarters, and then, they say enough's enough, and they just, start putting teams away. But college basketball on a whole this year has been so competitive on the women's side and the men's side. You don't know who's going to prevail. You don't know who's going to be on their game, night in and night out. And just to mention about the Kemmer twins, just because you're beautiful doesn't mean you can't ball. And those girls are balling, and I don't care what anybody says. They are the real deal. If you haven't watched them, tune in today. You'll see for yourself. Don't be judgmental and don't get starstruck by how they look. Watch how they play. They control the tempo of the game. They're excellent playmakers, and they play very good defense. So, for anybody to hate on any of those young ladies in college basketball because they're not what you might see as a superstar, you, as Ed said, or Salt said, you have to watch the whole game. You don't understand basketball. And, as a whole, from top to bottom, all these teams are in the Elite Eight and are going to be in the Final Four. They can play ball.
Yeah, I mean, and I mentioned this earlier. I think her name is Kathy Engelhardt. She's the WNBA commissioner. I mean, if I was her, I'd be watching every single game and pull something out of the college women's game because I will watch a college women's game. I will not watch a WNBA game. So whatever you see, whatever you can pick out of it, you need to replicate that to get somebody like me watching the WNBA. That's all I'll say about that. Dusty May, FAU, man. Go ahead. You went to their practices.
I've seen their practices, a couple times. I watched a couple games, and as Salt and I were talking on the way in this morning again, I have never ever seen or been part of a team that everything is at high speed. I mean, their cuts, their moving without the ball. These kids are 100% engaged. Their movement is so precise and so quick, and it's that way all the time. They're one team, and it was mentioned yesterday on their game against Kansas State. They've got four guys on the floor at one time that are passers. They all can pass the ball. And I'm going to say 5 because the big guy, Golden, he can pass the ball also. But when you have 5 guys that look for each other, that pass the way they pass, that can hit the cutter, that are constantly moving. We see Steph Curry moving in the games. But you've got 4 guys on the floor that are just moving the same way. They're never standing watching. It's tough to guard. And it's very tough to guard a team that has more than one playmaker. And you don't know any given day with that team there, somebody's going to drop 20. And they've got a very good team, and I wish them all the best. Like I said, I watched a couple of their practices. Our coach Bill Mallon at Cardinal Gibbons is good friends with Dusty May, and he invites us to their practices all the time and invites us to their games. and we take full advantage of it. If any young kids are out there in Florida or anywhere else, if you have a chance to watch FAU, Florida Atlantic University, play basketball, and you want to see how it's done, you have to watch their games.
For those tuning in, a little bit about FAU. Big school, started off as a commuter school, as a 2-year school, NAIA. In fact, Rick Durham, the pro here, was on their golf team back in the day. Rick's 72 years old, and they didn't have any dorms or whatnot, but they are one of the bigger schools outside of University of Central Florida, Florida State. 30,000 undergrads. They have a nice football stadium that holds 30,000. Their basketball gym's like 3,000, right? Like
a little
okay, a little bit more than that. But I made a comment yesterday. First of all, Dusty May I don't think he played college ball. He was a student manager under Bobby Knight. All right, so he's got that pedigree and mentoring. Some comments were after this year he's going to be one and done. Kind of like Tobin. So I don't think so. We were talking about that earlier. Boca Raton, there is so much money. People, even if they didn't go there, they're not an alum. They want their names on stuff. I got a feeling they're going to do what they can to keep them there and really put money into the program.
Well, I mean, I think they'd be crazy to let them go. And anybody that makes them an offer, I think Florida Atlantic should counter that offer. But I will say this: Dusty May has built a program that was considered a mid-major that has proven that he can coach and he can bring his team to where you are going to beat the Power Fives. And he's proven that. So why would you want to go somewhere else in a Power Five situation where there's a lot of pressure on you to win? They want instant gratification, where at Florida Atlantic, some of these mid majors, you can build a program and then you can maintain that program for years to come. So Dusty, if you listen to me, please stay. We love coming to your practices. I love watching your team play. You have an excellent program, and Florida Atlantic is definitely on the map, and will stay on the map as long as you're there.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Felix Gonzaga. I mean, there's a prime example. Went to St. State there, right? Mm-hmm. Even though we both picked Connecticut, for whatever reason, he can't get over that hump. But that's an example of somebody that went to a smaller school. Well, like I said, he was not a small school, and I think people have to get their wrapped around there. Hey, we got Coach Naclerio here. Coach, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about it. I didn't know what I was doing. When I first started coaching, there was no cell phones. In fact, there wasn't even beepers. You had to run to the payphone on the corner and hope whoever you called would pick up. So this is a little new for me, but you know what? Better late than never.
Coach, you did a great job, Coach. We're glad to see you. Glad you made it on, and we appreciate you taking time out to be with us.
We don't, Coach, I don't want you you're not driving, all right? I don't want you getting in an accident.
Nah. I'm parked on the side. Don't worry. If I get pulled over, I'll whip out my PBA card, tell them I know Jeffrey Madry. Hopefully they'll let me do the show, and I'll get the ticket ripped up. But I'm parked.
Hey,
I'm enjoying it.
All right, thanks. I know you're a super busy guy, as any legend in NYC would be. But three things we want to talk to you about real quick. One, we want to recap of your high school year. Two, I want to talk about Steve DeMayo, and three, I want to talk about your intimacy with the St. John's program and any insight you can give on that. So when we connected 2 or 3 weeks ago, you were playing in the quarterfinals or the semifinals of the PSAL?
We were in the quarterfinals. It was a crazy year. Coaching 42 years now, 48 if you include the 6 as assistant, which makes it crazy because I played for Cardozo 72-73 on the JV, 73-74 on the varsity, 74-75 on the varsity. Then I went to St. John's University and I took athletic administration, and my administration, what I had to do as a potential job was to get credits. I actually became the assistant coach of Cardozo while I was at St. John's. And I did that for 4 years. I got drafted by the Chicago White Sox. And in the offseason, the old coach, Al Madigan, said, take over for me. So if you add the 3 years I played, the 4 years I coached, and the 1 year in the minors that I was playing and then taking over, I've been at Cardozo 51 straight years.
Wow,
So
that's great.
I don't know. I'm
That's-
starting my second half century.
You look good.
Yes.
So your team this year, did they overachieve? What was the expectations at the beginning that you had?
You know what? My expectations every year is one goal, city championship, which you have to set your goals high and reach for the stars. But realistically, this year's team, we were just hoping to be the king of Queens. We started off our first 2 games without 2 senior starters and 2 kids who transferred out, shockingly, 2 weeks before the season started, and we were 0-2. We were up 4 with a minute to go in the first game. We were up 3 with 3 minutes to go in the second game. And the kids from the JV that moved up, and they had a hell of a JV year the season before. They lost in the city championship at the buzzer. They found out, like I said, the jump is a big jump. And the fact that we're supposed to be the king of Queens and we have the bullseye on our back, we took it in 0-2. Lo and behold, we then won 28 out of 29 games. In the play, we won the borough championship. Back being king of Queens, we played. The way the seedings came up, we had to go through Brooklyn. Well, we went almost halfway through Brooklyn. We played stinking Lincoln. We beat Lincoln. Then we played boys and girls, a team that was a very good team that gave the other top Brooklyn teams a run for their money, beat several of them. And I was really worried about that game. And we were up 28 at the half. We won by 44. And it was like a Jackie Gleason, the hum, the hum, the hum, the how'd we do it? South Shore was the number 2 seed. We prepared very well for them. The kids gave everything they could. The size factor killed us, but we were up 25-9. And then unfortunately their press did what it did all year long, caused turnovers. And we were up 1 at the half, 3 in the fourth, and we lost the heartbreaker. And, you know, we were hurt, but realistically, if somebody would have said to me when we were 0-2 that you were going to end up winning 28 out of the next 29 games, take it or leave it, I would definitely take it.
Hey, Coach, somewhat of a serious question here. Has the NIL affected high school
Good question.
sports in New York City?
It has affected the really good ones like Boogie Flan, Ian Jackson, because it seems like the really good ones in New York, the powers to be can get at them with money. And unfortunately, kids that don't have a lot, when you start giving them money, I'm not talking $100 for the week,
Right.
they're going to take it, unfortunately. And I really don't like the way the game is today with the nil, because I'm still a little old fashioned. I still believe
So are we.
Yes.
I still believe education is important. So if I can get $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 education for free, I value that. And I understand the kids' needs. I understand that. But some of these kids now think they're professional NCAA Division I basketball players. And that's not the goal of being an NCAA Division I basketball player. So it's sad. I'd like to think some of the schools, it was funny. I was teasing a couple of my friends that it was almost good to see Princeton lose, not because I wanted to see them lose, but only because they were missing too much time from class. And, Princeton, they're not going to bend any rules,
Exactly.
so.
Right. Yeah, Coach, I follow your posts, and I know your passion for the kids you coach, and you want them to succeed. And you're right, man. It's why you're always great to come on the show, because you talk about the value of the education. And Pepper and I, just based on what we went through, that's a tremendous value if you can get a free education.
Well, you know
I
what
that's
I
where
would
your
say to you?
heart is.
You know what I would say? God forbid you get a phone call. Your mother, your father, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your brother, your sister needs a doctor. They're on a desert island. And you can pick the doctor to try to operate on your family member. Do you want somebody that scored 20 a game, that got 20 rebounds, that got, a lot more money NIL? Or do you want somebody that, scored almost the perfect score on the SAT and got a very high score on the medical exam? The reality is, sooner or later, unless you're going to make enough money playing basketball, which very, 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 very few people do, education is what keeps you going.
Right. Now, my other question is, you've been coaching for years, and I'm just starting to coach a little bit down here in Florida, and I'm going to say 85% of the kids here think that they are Division I talent or one and done talent, and it's tough trying to bring these kids to reality.
You know what? I never want to hurt a kid's dream, but when you know that 96.7 of the high school players in the nation will not play college, so that means 3.3 will. When you realize the percentage of those are going to play Division III or Division II, not Division I, and then when you realize Division I, how hard it is to make the NBA. So let's say you play in the ACC and you're an average, good second team ACC performer, which is really good. The odds are you're not playing in the NBA.
Correct.
If you're in the MAC conference, you go to the MAC conference. Iona, Marist, schools like that, and you're in the MAC, well, you better be the player of the year, and you still have no chance of making it, because in the history of the MAC, 4 players have ever made the NBA. 4. 2 of them got Luis Flores, and I forget who the other one was. So it's a cup of coffee. So you could be the bomb in the MAC. It's almost impossible.
You played against Jeff Rulin?
Yeah.
Yes. Papa played against Jeff Rulin. That would be one of the 4, right?
No, Jeff Rulin. Well, Iona wasn't in the MAC then.
Oh,
the other was
okay.
the other was the big kid Thompson from Fairfield, who was a first-round pick of Sacramento. But remember, Thompson was 6'11". See, that changes things.
Right.
If you're born average size, 5'9", 5'11", 6'1", 6'3", you have almost nil chance of playing in the NBA.
Right. Hey, Coach, let's go to the second topic here, man. You just had a recent post, and we followed it. We had Steve on about 3 weeks ago, Steve DeMayo. This is a no-brainer for us. I've known Steve when he was assistant for my college coach's son, Tim Walsh at Providence. So I've probably known him for 20 years. This guy, he's a Cardozo alum, right?
Yeah, he played basketball 1981, 82, 83. He loves the Cardozo basketball reunions. He's there, and we're so proud of what he's done. He's coached at every level. I remember taking him to the BC camp in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, as a counselor to get his coaching career off. Then all of a sudden he's at Bronx Community College. And boy, if you look at what he's done everything you can in the college level except coach Division I. Coach Division I as an assistant, Providence, Hofstra, other places, Division II. He's done great as a head coach. JUCO, what he's done at Northwest Florida. Yesterday, I was rooting hard for him on TV. It would have been 3 out of 8 years that he won the JUCO championship. But you know what? I texted him last night. He was, you know what? If you win 2 junior college championships and lose in the championship game in 8 years, that's an awesome resume. Because when you look at some of the great coaches that have coached that never have won a championship, it is mind-boggling.
Yeah. Coach, I was actually at Fresh Market. And I was following that game yesterday afternoon on my phone, They were up 2 under a minute, and then the next thing I know, I'm checking out, and they're down 3, and they ended up losing by 3, and I actually sent him a message, and I said, rough last minute. He said, yeah, we pissed the game away. But I mean, what is FDU waiting for? I mean, for you said there's multiple D1 openings. What are they waiting for with this guy, right? Local kid, unbelievable background, just an amazing coach. I just don't get it.
Well, you know what? The one thing I learned, if I draw up a great play down by 1 and the kid blows the layup, I'm a bum. If I close my eyes and pray, like I did when we were down 1 against Jefferson 2014, down 1, Rayshawn Salnave, who ended up playing Major Division 1. I close my eyes, he hits both foul shots, and I become a great coach. The one thing that I haven't had, but, you know, I've gotten past it, Steve hasn't, is you got to have a rabbi. And without a rabbi, somebody believing in, you got to have a rabbi. Got to have a rabbi, you know, because you need someone to believe in you. You know, I believe in Steve. But, you know, I think one of the things that I've done over the years, because I realize a lot of the ADs, the presidents, they grasp at straws. You know, they go for the fancy name, like St. John's did Chris Mullen. You know what? A great player. Well, if you look at the greatest coach in the history of St. John's, it wasn't the greatest player, Chris Mullen. It was Coach Lou Carnesecca, who was not a good player.
Yeah.
So sometimes the inferior player becomes the better coach. One of the reasons why is the inferior player knows how hard it is to work to make the team, how hard it is to work when you get on the court. Just accepting a slice of the pizza pie. The superstars, they can't understand what it is to be super average or super below average. So I think that's what hurts a lot of people. Just like Michael Jordan is the owner. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, it's a great segue into St. John's. I mean, you're an alum. You're pretty intimate with both Coach Carnesecca and Coach Pitino. What their hires, you mentioned Chris Mullen, and then they have Anderson. And there's actually a kind of a subplot with Steve there, right? Because I think Steve's got a lawsuit against both. What's been going on at St. John's? And obviously, you got to be elated with the Pitino hire.
Well, you know what? Growing up, my dream was to be the head coach of St. John's, the Knicks of the Nets. So I'm 0 for 3. So if I was 0 for 3, which I've been 0 for 3 for a long time, that'd send me to the minors. Eventually I get released. But I've come to realize at my age, maybe I have another calling. It's to help kids, save kids, you know, save their lives, change their lives. And I'm at the point right now, I really wouldn't want to go out and recruit these kids because all these kids are me kids. The people around them are me people. They're just grabbing attention, grabbing money. Everything is that. So I was disappointed. Rick Pitino is the one guy that can come in there that I can accept that I'm not there. And Steve Masiello and I are good friends. He's bringing him in. Talik Brown, who I know, he's going to be over there. I forgot his first name. Ronald John, he's coming. So I'm seeing the people at St. John's, even though they're not St. John's people, they're going to try to make St. John's the Louis Carnesecca St. John's that we all love in the city. I was at the press conference, and Louis was there, and when I kind of worked my way out, Louis looked at me, we went over, we hugged, and everybody started taking pictures, and that picture made Newsday, and Coach and I talked. I'm going to be with Coach in a couple of weeks. He's inviting us to a special day at his house, and then Pitino came out. And knowing Pitino when he first started, going back to St. Dom's, all the way up to Hawaii, and when he calls me one night, gee, I don't know how many years ago, he goes, Coach, Rick Pitino, hey, we start talking. Do you mind if I come to your scrimmage tomorrow? So I go, yeah. I go, you're looking at the kid on Lachlan. He goes, yeah, Devin Ebanks. So I go, well, you know what? I got a kid I think you should look at. Who? James Sutherland,
Yeah.
who ended up having a great career at Syracuse.
Yeah.
And here we are in the Big East Championship, of which James Sutherland broke the record for most threes in a Big East tournament. James must have had 6 or 7, and Syracuse lost a heartbreaker to Louisville. It might have been in overtime. After the game, I'm in the back. Pitino comes over to me and grabs me, and he goes, Naclerio, I should have listened to you. I should have taken Sutherland. So, you know, Pitino is one of those guys. As he's gotten older, you realize he coaches with everything he has. He gives everything he's had, but he's also realistic. You know, he's also realistic, and he knows it's.
He was Pepper's
Yep.
assistant, right?
Yeah, we had about 2 years at Syracuse.
2 years at Syracuse. He was Dale's assistant at Syracuse for 2 years.
Pitino was.
Yeah, he was Bayham's first year. Pitino was there for the
Oh
first
yeah,
2
yeah.
years.
Oh yes, yeah. Holy cow! You know what it is? You look at Steve DeMayo's long resume where he's been dear Pitino. Wow, because I remember Pitino when he was at Hawaii, and then he got the head job at Boston U, and a guy that works as the announcer, radio announcer for the Washington Wizards, Glenn Consor from Bayside High School, was Pitino's first star at Boston U, and you know it's amazing the connections of basketball. You know, it's its own little world, and it seems like everybody knows everybody, whether you're good, bad, or indifferent. You know, and
Coach,
it's great to see.
Coach, you probably don't know this, not to interrupt you, but Dale and I, Pepper and I, we took down Morgan Wooten in 1975 at the Utica Memorial Auditorium by 17 points when they had Hawkeye Whitney, Charles Hawkeye Whitney, Peter Strickland. They had a bunch of D1. I don't know if Kenny Carr played with them, but when you mentioned Pitino and Hawaii, I think Reggie Carter from Long Island was one of his top recruits.
Yes,
and
yes,
Dale
Long
and I,
Island Lutheran.
Yeah, we took Wayne McCoy and Reggie Carter back in the day in the 70s.
And there was another kid, George Lett from Stevenson High School. Pitino got out there. George Lett was a 6'6", 6'7" kid, got about 25 a game for Stevenson. And then there was another kid from Freeport High School named Henry Hollingsworth. So it's amazing how Pitino managed to navigate the New York area and get kids to go all the way out to Hawaii.
I remember going to, you were at Syracuse. I was, I think, going to my senior year at Utica Notre Dame, and I went to the Syracuse camp, and Pitino was an assistant there, and he played me. He wanted to play everybody one-on-one. He was crazy. He was so tenacious, like playing one-on-one with the campers there. It was unbelievable. And I think you alluded to that earlier, is just his passion and his, you know, his feistiness and so forth.
You know, I put something on social media when Steve Masiello said, I think it was the day before the press conference, that he thinks Pitino's got 12 more years in him, so he rounded it off to 10. And you know what? I was with Pitino a couple of weeks ago, and we had a picture, and I said, you know what? The way Pitino looks, the way Masiello feels, I feel it. I'd love to be able to coach another 10 years. You know what? You got to be healthy. You got to be, you know, wise, you know, and you never know where it leads you. Like, I don't think when Pitino was coaching in Greece and all of the potential sanctions, he probably never thought there was a chance that he would come back coaching D1. And then when he got the chance at Iona, never thought that there was a chance that he would be at St. John's. You know, St. John's is the one school in the, well, you know, I also like to say, because if I say it incorrectly, Shaheem Holloway, a kid I raised from Seton Hall, will probably be mad at me. But I think that Seton Hall and St. John's, and, you know, probably Rutgers, but I think Seton Hall and St. John's more so because of the Big East. Rutgers goes to the Midwest, being in the Big Ten. It seems like those are the schools that when they're good, the city, you know, loves to get behind them.
Right. Hey, I saw a picture of you with Willis Reed, you were a ball boy for the Knicks. Talk a little bit about his passing and what he meant to you and Knicks and your relationship.
Well, how I got the job was very interesting. My dad, may he rest in peace, was a heart and lung surgeon. He devised how to put the pacemakers in. And the most famous patient my dad saved was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he was stabbed in Harlem, September 20th, 1958. They became very, very good friends. TNT, Inside the NBA, TNT did a 14-minute segment on me, my dad, Cardozo. But another patient my dad helped was Ned Irish's secretary, Mary Malloy. Ned Irish was the president of Madison Square Garden. And Mary Malloy had some sort of heart thing that it was just a matter of time. And Ned Irish tried his best. Every doctor somehow heard about my dad. My dad got involved, saved Mary Malloy's life. Ned Irish was so happy. Doc, I'm taking you out to dinner. And when he was at dinner, he goes, Doc, because that's what they called my dad, Doc, I got to do something for you. You know, don't you have to do anything. He goes, how about this? Do you have any sons? So my father goes, 2. He goes, how old? One is 14, one is 12. He goes, do they like sports? One likes sports, one loves sports. Do they like basketball? One likes basketball, one loves basketball. So the one that loves sports and the one that loves basketball, how old is he? 12. Good, I just hired him. What do you mean? I just hired him. He goes, he didn't even apply for a job. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, he's Nick Ballboy. So I became Nick Ballboy. 69, 70, I was managed to work just a couple of the games. And then I worked right up to 74, 75. And Willis Reed had a little problem with his heart. They didn't know if it was minor or major, but who did Ned Irish call? Dr. Naclerio. Willis met my dad, took a liking to my dad. This is when I was ball boy. Willis Reed had his all-star camp in New York Military Academy. And, well, he's telling my dad, your sons are coming to my camp. So I'm at his camp. You know, Willis always looked out for me. Over the years, when he came in from Creighton to recruit Vernon Moore from Andrew Jackson, or when he was volunteer assistant with Coach Carnesecca, how's your dad doing? How's your dad doing? And when he heard my dad passed away in 1985, it hurt him, and we stayed in contact. And when I heard the news about Willis Reed, it just brought back so many great memories, but it also, brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, right?
Yeah.
We're both Knicks fans, and I remember Marv Albert buying that 33 LP record and listening to that crazy season.
Yeah.
Yes,
anyways,
Marv Albert, who I got to know his son Al Albert or Steve Albert, because he's been texting me back and forth. But everybody knows Marv would go, yes. But my favorite line from Marv was, and here comes Willis. And I remember that.
Yes.
I remember that. And it seemed like yesterday, but it was 53 years ago, May 8th. Wow. 53 years ago, May 8th.
Yeah, we down here in Florida, sometimes because you're outside all the time, you tend to lose track of time. Because every day is what do you say, Pepper? Every day is a Saturday.
It's like a Saturday.
Well, how about this?
But yeah,
I'm rooting for a New Yorker from All Hallows High School, Malloy High School, Jim Larinaga. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if it's a South Florida final, Florida Atlantic, Miami?
That'd be crazy.
Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it?
But how about this? Because when you look at it, you have San Diego State, a long shot, playing Creighton, a team that people thought could do it. One of them is going to win, and they're going to play Florida Atlantic. So
Yeah.
one of those three teams are going to be in the final. And who would have thought that when the season started?
And on the girls' side, we talked about this before you came on. I mean, there could be three South Florida teams with if the Miami girls get by LSU today.
Wow.
It's just crazy stuff, man. We would not work. I mean, literally, they're in our backyard here, FAU, and we're just talking about they playing a big time like high school gym, 3,000. But Dusty May, man, he's there's a lot of money in Boca Raton. I trust me. People like their names on shit down here, Coach. They're
Well,
not
I
going to
know,
let that
I
guy
know.
go. They're not going to let the Dusty May go without a fight. If you know.
Yeah.
If
Well, I
he
know,
wants
I
it.
know one of their top. I know one of their top boosters. His pockets are long.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. We're just talking
you know
about
what?
it.
And you know what I would tell Dusty May? Don't leave unless you have a Florida Atlantic situation at a higher level, because a lot of coaches leave for a higher level job. They don't like it as much. Yes, the paycheck's a lot more. They find out it's not really them. It's not what they really liked. They just moved up because they thought it was bigger and better. And in a
Good point.
couple of years, they get the pink slip, and they're walking around like Ralph Cramden, the hum.
Well, we were talking about that earlier today. I thought the same way. You built a program that you're supposed to be a mid-major, and you prove that you can go out and beat a lot of the Power Five schools. Plus, you're going to go into a situation where you've got new administration that may not think the same way you think, that want you to convert to their way of thinking, and
Yep.
the program is just not going to work that way. A coach has to be able to go into a program and work his program the way he feels comfortable and the way he feels it's going to be successful for him.
Well, you know what? I had a condo in Pompano, and I went by Florida Atlantic many, many times over the years when Coach Jarvis was there. But there's a lot of land there, and they
Yes.
have
Yes.
D1 football. So who knows how big Florida Atlantic can expand? And maybe if Dusty May can keep it going there, all of a sudden, instead of him leaving for a higher level conference, the school goes to a higher level conference.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Great
he
point.
stays there, and he can live off of this for many, many years.
Hey, Coach, what is it with New York coaches getting places in Pompano? We got the famous Nick Lambros from Hartwood College, Omiana. He's got a condo there. He golfs. He brings Boeheim down to golf.
Yeah.
Bernie Fine's down here in Boca. Do you still have your place in Pompano?
Yeah, it's on North Atlantic. What is it? I don't even know. It's right on the water near the pier in Pompano. When my parents died, I ended up selling half of it to my best friend because he needed. I only was going down 7 to 10 days a year because it's tough to get down there when you're coaching from middle of
Right.
October to March. So I'd go down in April, and then when it starts getting 70, 80, 90 degrees in New York, June, July, and August, who wants to go to Florida? When I was younger,
Right.
I was with the Chicago White Sox, and I'm in Sarasota in the Gulf Coast League, and it was so hot during the summer. I said I would never come to Florida June, July, August, September. So in my mind, it was so hot. Why would I go there when it's just like that in New York? So my window of when I could go wasn't as big as I thought when my parents bought it. But for my dad, he needed it. He needed to get away. When you're a heart and lung surgeon, you need some days to cool down, from the pressure. You think it's pressure coaching in a game at Madison Square Garden where, it's Final Four. But imagine the pressure of being in an operating room and some patient's life is on your slightest maneuver with your hands. It's a whole different. That's why I also think, when you look at who's getting paid what, it's a little mind boggling. Like some rapper gets on a stage, whips out 28 words of which 7 are curses, and he's making millions. And doctors have to constantly study, learn, and keep up with the times and the new innovations. Have to struggle, and I would say struggle because it's hard. You really can't take the time off like you can, when you're a coach.
That's a great point, Coach. And anytime you're down here, I don't know if you still come to Pompano, but we'd love to have you on live whenever. This year we're doing it out of the Delray Beach Golf Club, and
Okay.
every day is a Saturday, man. It's always 82 and sunny. So, hey, I know you're busy. I really appreciate you're one of the best guests we ever had, right? We've had the coats on, Bayheim and so forth. You're one of the best, Coach.
I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Enjoy your
Anytime,
Sunday.
just give me a call. God
All
bless.
right,
God
Coach.
bless.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
He's the best, man.
He knows a lot. He tells it like it is. He's been around. He's been around. And he's coached a lot of great players.
I follow him, and he's, just a few days ago, he posted something about another up-and-coming player that got gunned down in New York. He's at his wit's end with what's happening in New York City. I can tell you that.
I should have asked him if he had any players that want to get out of the city.
Yeah,
Send them to Florida. But I need NIL money to take care of these kids.
Yeah, you heard his feelings on that, right?
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Let's close out today about we talked about the girls at Miami and the Cavender twins, but a little bit about FAU. What about the Miami Texas game?
Well, I'm going to stick with the Miami teams. I think Miami's got a good team. They've got some cars, Yang. These guys can shoot. They're an excellent defensive team. They rebound well. They run well. It'll be a good game.
He mentioned Jim Larrianga, New York Metro guy, but he also paid his dues. Very proper as George Mason. He took George Mason. I actually thought the way Tennessee played against Kentucky, I did not think Miami was going to get by Tennessee, but here we are, and it's kind of bizarre. UConn looked really, really good, but then again, you look, UConn I think lost 9 games, so they could be peaking and they could be a tough out, but we'll know at 9-10 o'clock tonight. We'll know if it's just FAU or if it's the girls' side. It's a crazy time down here.
Well, it's going to be an interesting day. Hopefully they can keep the Florida run going. As you said, UConn just looked so tough. They were so polished yesterday. They could do whatever they wanted to do against Gonzaga. Gonzaga is big, but sometimes big just isn't going to do it for you. And Gonzaga's star player, Drew Timme, he got into foul trouble. He got into foul trouble early. And those things that he got away with all year long didn't work in this game. You got different officiating. Coach doesn't have the type of reputation with these officials as he has with the officials in their conference. So a lot of calls went against them. A lot of calls were probably called the right way.
So we're it's still March Madness through the end of the month. Tobin Anderson, who was a scheduled guest, but obviously some things happened to him over the last 2 or 3 weeks. He is still in contact with us. It's tough getting on his schedule. He was on the Today Show in the morning and so forth, but he promises he's going to make it to the Salt and Pepper Show. And quite honestly, anybody that has interaction with us the good things happen to him, right?
Good things.
The Cavender twins, Tobin, Dusty May, good things happen to him.
Can't forget Layla Fernandez.
Layla Fernandez, right? Yeah. Yep. She's rep by GSC Worldwide now. And Ian Grutman, who's one of the leaders of that, he's promised to come on the show and bring some people. So looking forward, there's a lot of cool things happening with the Salt and Pepper Sports Talk Show. This was great. I love talking to Coach.
Yeah, Coach, he's a wealth of knowledge into, to be at one high school institution for 50 plus years is an amazing feat. He does a great job there. He brings these kids along in the right way, that he cares about their livelihood before he cares about the games. And, the education and, your family life is very important to him. And, the basketball, and that's secondary.
So going forward, we're going to wait to see what develops here. And between now and next week, maybe we get Tobin on. It'll be a great pickup. Like I said, he promised to come on, but I know he's getting his situation settled at Iona. A lot of good things happening. You had entertained. We'll close the show by always having an open invite of anybody from our home area coming down, want to play golf or whatever, right? Talk about your time this week with some friends, right, from Notre Dame Utica?
Yeah, I had one of my high school classmates, Kevin Ryan, and a friend of his, Jim, came down on Monday, and our fourth guy, we were yelling, "Let's go," didn't show up. So, whatever reason, we had a threesome instead of a foursome, which turned out well. It started out a little chilly in the morning. We started at 11, and it was about 60 degrees. But, after 2 holes, it started rising quick, and by the end of the day, we were up in the low 80s. So, the golf is always good. The weather is always great. And, Kevin and I and Jim, we had a lot of fun. Thanks to Ed, he made a tee time for us, or as we know him as Salt, made a tee time for us. And, we had a great 18 holes, and we're hoping to, get together again in the future.
So let's just close out the show by, wishing the Miami Hurricanes women best of luck today, and then the Canes. And who would have thought that we're broadcasting from the hotbed of college basketball, man? Could possibly be 4 South Florida teams. Keep in mind too, man, like they say the true Floridian, or the southern Floridian, is actually in the north part of the state, right? Down here, it's tropic, it's paradise, it's very transient. Who would have thought, though, man? 3 teams potentially could be in the Final Four.
And just imagine, all you guys that are out there playing and, looking for a college destination. FAU is, they say 2 miles from the beach. I think it's a little closer than that. And, Nova is not far from the beach.
I keep forgetting about
Glenn
that.
University is not far from the beach.
Yeah, there's really no Division III schools in Florida. It's Division II, NAI, and Division I. And Nova Southeastern again is playing in the finals of Division II. So you got 4 teams, man. Nova Southeastern's in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. So you got 4 teams potentially. Could be in the Final Four. It's crazy stuff. With that, man, great show. Coach Naclerio, man, is honestly one of the best, a legend. And for those of you, thanks for tuning in. I know this is going to get a lot of play.
Don't forget, if you're ever thirsty, Hilden Water, and if you want a great golf shirt and a great leisure shirt, let's go golf. Always there for you, hats and other apparel.
One of our best shows today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Sunday, everyone. Salt out.
Pepper out.